Hey, Chad.
Hey, Megan. Monday after Super Bowl.
Monday after the Super Bowl.
Big deal.
I have an emotional hangover of the day. It was so glorious and wonderful,
It seemed to be a good game.
It was a very good game.
It seemed to be one of those kind of games, though, that is better if you don't have skin in the game.
Yes, absolutely. It was very stressful at the end for me personally, and it wasn't the way I wanted to win. Because we won because we had a lot of timeouts left, and that's kind of the way it ended up. So I would rather have a dramatic ending, like we ran a kick back for a touchdown, and it was a glorious event. This is
what?
Kind of anticlimactic.
You were in the Super Bowl.
We were in the Super Bowl, and we won the Super Bowl for the second time in the last 4 years.
I haven't seen the Super Bowl in...
You haven't seen it in a long time. It's a long time.
20 years. So.
Yes. So I am very happy. We had a fun Super Bowl party with the kids. I predicted the score in that I said the Chiefs would win by 3, which was pretty good, honestly.
Okay, yeah.
So we had a good time.
Did you win some cold hard cash on that?
No, we do not gamble. It's for bragging rights, obviously.
Gotcha.
That's the most important part.
Did Brielle leave crying?
She did not. She was very happy throughout the game, and then at the end it was sad for her. So that was too bad. But I gave her a big hug, and it was fun to have somebody that also cared about the game.
Right.
Everybody else that was there, was interested in a good game.
Wasn't there another Phillies fan there?
There was. There's a new grad student, Jessie, that came, but she's from around that area, but wasn't super invested. So anyway, she'd wear green though. So there you go.
Okay.
But fun time. Lots of my kids wore red because I've convinced them that red is the better color. I've brainwashed them. Yes, you're right. So anyway, it was a good time. What about you? How was your weekend?
It was a birthday party.
Oh, yes.
Olivia's birthday party. So we did roller skating.
I did not
roller skate.
Okay. I was going to say.
So we had a party for a friend of ours.
Yes.
I don't know, last year sometime. And it was same place, but adults, like 35 to 45-ish.
Yeah.
Skating. And I told Ashley, I said, I'm at the age where, like, I fall, I don't bounce.
No.
Like, I break things a little bit.
That's true.
That's
true.
And she was like, no, you get out. So I did, cautiously did it. But the birthday girl that day fell. She thought she'd sprained her wrist. Then she went out. We went out afterwards and hung out. She came out. And then the next day, she was like, this still hurt. I'm going to go to the doctor. Yeah. They were like, yeah, it's broken. And you got to go in for surgery tomorrow.
No.
So I took my lesson. And
you
was
took
like,
your lesson. You were done.
So.
You're done.
But it was good.
Olivia had a good time.
Olivia had a good time.
And she's 11 now?
11 years old,
wow.
yeah. About to go into middle school.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
But anyway, let's not keep our guests waiting anymore
Yes.
on dull stories of my weekend.
We have a great guest today.
Yeah.
Yes.
New church council chair.
Yeah, yes. Big deal. We have a big deal in the podcast room today. Yes.
Sandy White.
Yay!
Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big deal.
It's important that you admit that. That's very important. It's very important.
It doesn't really feel right.
Glad to have you, and we know you as a choir member and as a super meeting attender here at the church. I know
proofreader,
bulletin proofreader. Lots of things, but we don't know much about your background, and so we would love to hear. We usually try to do give us your life story in 2 minutes, if you can, do that. So if we want to start there, tell us about your life.
That's quite a challenge.
It is. You're right.
Born in a log cabin. I'm from Southern California originally. Orange County, which was not called the OC any time that I lived there, but apparently now it is. I grew up there, went to Stanford, so that's Northern California, for college. Moved back to Southern California and worked in Santa Monica for a few years. So I've had the Orange County, the LA, the Bay Area kind of experience. When I was in college, I majored in, this is not going to be 2 minutes, by the way. I majored in journalism and also Russian language.
Oh, wow.
It was sort of like a co-major. They didn't really have a major-minor thing.
Yeah.
And so after taking Russian for 4 years, and I had taken other languages too in high school, and I took Spanish for forever, took a little Portuguese, a little German, a little French, but 4 years of Russian at the college level, you need to go to the country then. It's like, I've invested all this. So I went on a study abroad program in the summer of 1976.
Oh, wow.
Which means I missed the bicentennial. I mean, it happened, but I missed it. Spent a summer in what was then Leningrad, studying at what was then LGU, Leningrad State University, with 150 other people from throughout the country. One of the people that was on that same trip was attending college in New Jersey at Drew. And I had just graduated, so he was a couple years younger than me. We met. Our orientation for this program was in Paris. So we met in Paris.
Wow.
In the middle of June on a day that happened to be his birthday. So it was an extremely romantic beginning. We got together over the summer. At the end of the summer, I came back home to Southern California. He went on to Oxford to spend a semester, and we wrote each other every day. And, so at the end of that, he then, instead of going back to Drew, he came to Southern California, ended up transferring and finishing his undergrad at UCLA. We got married. So after he graduated from UCLA, he went to Claremont School of Theology to become a United Methodist pastor, which is why I have a strong affinity for pastoral spouses, because I was one for 10 years. Yeah. And so once he graduated from seminary, and I'd been working in Santa Monica, we got our first appointment. At the time, the annual conference we were in was Southern California, Arizona, Hawaii, and Guam.
Oh, wow.
A little tiny piece of Nevada. So the dean of the seminary kept joking and saying, "Oh, you're going to get sent to Ajo, Arizona." And we're like, what even is that? It was like this little bitty town. But we didn't. We got sent to Kailua, Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Instead, which was like, an amazing dream come true. Yeah. I'd been to Hawaii once as a teenager, fallen in love with it, as many people do. Yeah. I know you went there recently. And so that's where we moved to. So we lived there for several years. And he was associate pastor at the Kailua United Methodist Church. Then he got assigned to Eva Beach United Methodist Church on the other side of the island, which is a little bitty church. I mean, so little bitty that the pastor's job includes mowing the lawn, cleaning, preaching, leading the choir, everything. Yep. So anyway, so that was where we ended up moving over there. And then the marriage fell apart. So that was, the big shock, the big earthquake, I guess, in my life. Yeah. Really hard to deal with. We had bought a townhouse on the windward side of Oahu, which was close to where that first church was. So I ended up moving into that, and it was a 4-bedroom townhouse. So in order to make ends meet, I ended up renting a couple rooms out to some coworkers and friends, and stayed there and continued working. I was working at Bank of Hawaii. Okay. I started out doing computer programming, and then I ended up becoming a commercial loan officer. So, I can't even list all my jobs for you in 2 minutes. So my first job in Santa Monica was I was a tech writer editor for an aerospace corporation. And then at Bank of Hawaii, I ended up getting into computer programming and then commercial lending. And decided that I was taking some MBA classes, but it wasn't really a good fit. I had a bunch of attorney clients at the bank, and I kept thinking, I feel more like them. They resonate with that. And I had thought about law school long ago when I graduated from undergrad, and my parents said, well, good luck to you. We financed your 4 years at Stanford. That's the end of the commitment. I was like, oh, okay. So I took the LSATs again and started thinking about where to apply. Applied at University of Hawaii, applied at several schools in California, because that's where I'm from. I just happened to have lunch one day with a coworker named Roger Barb, who was from Houston, Texas, and he said, oh, man, you ought to go to UT. And I'm like, University of Tennessee? What are you even talking? I mean, it was just like not on my radar, ever. And so he said, "Oh, Austin, it's so great, and the music and this and the food and on and on and on." So Roger's a really enthusiastic guy. So I was like, "Okay, Roger, I'll look into it." And this is, of course, pre-internet, so you got to go to the bookstore and find a book and read about the school. And it does sound like a good school. Okay, let me find out more about it. So I ended up applying here, and I came out for a visit, but I hadn't heard yet if I was accepted. Yeah. But I thought, I need to see Austin and just know. So I came out here in spring of 1991. The weather was perfect. All the bluebonnets were blooming. There was a big thunderstorm one night, which was really exciting because we didn't get thunderstorms in Hawaii because the clouds just keep on going past.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop them. Yeah. And, driving up and down Lamar, there was old Terminix bug and all the cool neon signs and driving around downtown. And, I ate a meal at El Patio. And, all these things that I did were just so enticing. And I went to the law school, had a tour, and I went to the secretary and said, "I'm trying to find out if I've been admitted," because this was the time when they would send it out. And so she actually looked, and she said, "You're in." I was like, "Oh,
wow!" Right?
So that's how I found out. That was probably not.
How old were you when you applied?
37.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did one of those things where I was like, I'm going to be 40 in 3 years.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, if I go to law school, I'll be 40 when I get out. Well, I'll be 40 in 3 years no matter what.
Absolutely.
So why not just do this?
Absolutely.
So I uprooted my whole life, brought my 2 cats with me. Such an ordeal. Sold the townhouse, moved all the way here, bought a little condo. And this was a really good time to buy because Austin was going through really almost a recession. The oil industry had gone down. So I was able to pick up a nice condo for virtually nothing, it felt like. So that's what I ended up doing, went through law school, graduated, and started practicing law. In the course of that, of course, I was like, I've got to find a church. And I look on the map of UT, and there's a Methodist church on the campus. Well, I'd better check that one out. And then I'll start looking around at other churches. So I came here, and I never went in.
I've heard that story many times.
Really good due diligence.
Yeah.
It's like, before it was too late,
you were hooked.
I was already hooked.
Yeah.
So, and Nathan had been going here since 1987.
Oh, wow.
When he graduated from college, he moved here to go through the physics grad student program, and he chose to take about 9 years. I hope he's not listening to this. But anyway, so we met in the grad students Sunday school class that was existing at that time.
Cool.
Nice.
So.
Sandy, I love what you said about, not knowing what you wanted to do at 37, because I think I have this conversation with my college students very often where I say, it is okay if at 22 or 18 or 25, you're still not really sure what you want to do with your life, because I think there's a lot of pressure, I think, from parents, which is totally normal, to say you need to figure out what you're going to do with your life. You need to pick a major that's going to be. And how in the world did any of us ever pick a major at 18?
Yeah,
I know.
Or at 19 or 20 or 22 or any of those things that had anything to do with what we were good at and what our passion was. And I mean, it's amazing that any of us end up in a place where
we talk about Ashley and I talk about that all the time. Yeah. Like the thing, like if I could go back and do it again,
You don't know how the world works.
No.
Yeah.
You have no idea. At least I didn't. I was always astounded. There were a lot of people at Stanford. They came in, they're pre-med. They're not only pre-med, they know exactly what they're going to specialize in. Yeah. And they go through with it, and they end up doing that. And you're just like, how did you know that?
How?
Well, a lot of them, their dads were doctors.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
A lot of the people that go to law school, their parents are lawyers. Yeah. And now, of course, the moms can be doctors.
I think you see that a lot with engineers, too.
Yeah,
My mom or my dad was an engineer, and, so. But, if I could go back again,
Sandy, before you married your first husband, had you been United Methodist kind of growing up throughout your life?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was your kind of church experience growing up?
So, I grew up in Fullerton, California, and my parents met. They were from Whittier originally. They met at what was then called Epworth League, now I believe it's called college group. I think it's because it wasn't high school, it wasn't UMYF, so it was, young adults. So that's where they met.
Yeah.
And my dad's family, had been at that church for forever. My mom's family, her grandmother was from a Quaker family in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I think they went to the Methodist church. They weren't as churchy. My dad's family was much more, they were sort of the Ozzie and Harriet kind of, we're respectable, nice Methodists, and we don't do wild and crazy things. So what's funny is that all their grandchildren have turned out to be pretty religious.
Yeah.
And well, not my brothers, but and have been a little bit off the charts as far as that former expectation of what we would be. My one girl cousin and I will sometimes talk. What would Grandma say if she saw us today doing this or having these conversations? When we were at the Women's March in D.C. in 2017, would Grandma be here with us?
Yeah.
Would she be proud of us?
Yeah.
We didn't really know.
Absolutely.
And we asked her mom, my aunt, and she's like, "Oh, I think she would be supportive." Like, okay, that's good.
You just never know.
Yeah,
just never know.
You never know. But I did all the, go to Sunday school. I can tell you all my Sunday school teachers from when I was a kid. I was the one that always wanted to read the scriptures in class. I still do. I still enjoy being a lector. That's one of my favorite things to do. We used to memorize Bible verses. So we did all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was in youth group all through high school. And I started teaching Sunday school when I was like 14. I started teaching like 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
So just like how we have the thing. So the people that I taught, I see them on Facebook, and I'm like, how can you be like a grown-up with grown kids that are married? You're that little kid. Well, they're only 10 years younger than me, so they're not really that much younger.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
But when I went away to college, I did not attend church. There's a Methodist church, of course, in Palo Alto, but you don't really leave the campus for things. I didn't really do much my freshman year at all. I mean, it's just the complete, you're exploring the world. Yeah. And then my sophomore year, I ended up with a bunch of people that were into this Pentecostal Bible church. And I was hanging out with them. So it was the pendulum swing.
Yeah.
Right? Wait, no, I'm sorry. Second year, I was hanging around with people that were like, we don't believe in God.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that. Well, I'm not sure. And, all that doubt. And then the next year, then I went the other way. Like, I'm going to go to, but I just couldn't, the Methodism would not leave me.
Yes.
And I remember one time it was my turn to lead a Bible study that we did. And afterwards, one of the guys comes up, he goes, well, we need to talk. And I was like, you know what? No, we don't.
Definitely not.
This is not for me. And then, so I ended up, I don't think I was, I went to the Methodist Church in Palo Alto a couple of times, but I didn't really connect with the community.
Yeah.
I assumed there was a college group, but, it's kind of like when I came here, I was a little bit shy of getting in, partly because I'm 37. What am I going to do with the grad students class?
Yeah.
But luckily, the people that were starting the class were aggressive and were like, "No, you need to come to this class." So I approve of you doing that.
Yes. Oh, good. Yes. Yes. I tend to do the thing where I walk around before church starts and introduce people. Hey, Chad, have you met Sandy? You guys are both in this, and you guys should be friends. And then I just leave. Yeah. Just like hope that they, make friends. So, there's, I think there's an element of needing a push sometimes to get connected, and I think that we, especially I find for students now, they don't have. Many of them do not have as many social skills as the three of us kind of grew up with, because they've had the internet for so long and have been able to kind of live in that in that world. And so I think sometimes they need a little bit of encouragement.
You get to be that awkward icebreaker for them.
Oh man, I'm all about being the awkward icebreaker. I'm great at that.
Sandy, what? Why Russian?
Yes, good question.
It is a good question, and the answer is really, a lot of my decisions in my life have been made for no obvious reason, and this is one of them. So I grew up in Southern California. You start learning Spanish in like second grade.
Yeah.
You have the not religiously. You have Senor Olguin that comes in once a week, and you work with him, and you watch this little show on public TV because this is long before PBS, and you learn a little bit of Spanish. So then you take it in junior high because you like it. I love language. I love learning language.
Yeah.
And then I was taking it all through high school. So, and then had 1 year of Portuguese in high school because my teacher happened to have taken it in college and wanted to offer it as an elective class. So then when I went to college, I thought, well, I want to really have a chance to learn like a language from the start. Because with Spanish, I felt kind of like I was all over the place. Like I know how to say a lot of things, but I don't feel like I have a good comprehensive understanding of it anymore.
Yeah.
And some of my friends had taken Russian in junior high, which, most, I don't know why they offered it there. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But they did, and they liked it, and they thought it was fun. And so I thought, well, I'll try that. It's
That's
different.
amazing. Yeah.
I wanted a non-romance language,
Yeah.
but not Chinese. That's way too hard.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I went with.
Interesting.
And then once I started taking it, and I found it very fascinating, and, I'm a big sunk cost person. It's like, well, I've already invested a whole semester in this, or a whole quarter. I better keep on going with it.
I might as well major in it.
Yeah, why not?
I'm always fascinated by people that can do language. I took some Spanish in high school, but I was not very good at it, and I'm always just so impressed with people whose brains work differently than mine does, because I feel like language is not the thing that works for me. But I wonder, did you get to travel much around Russia while you were there for your study abroad program?
Yeah, the way it worked is we had like 2 full months in Leningrad, and while we were there, we did lots of excursions on the weekends and things like that.
That was 76?
76, summer of 76. And so, it was the Soviet Union, it was Leningrad, it was, you couldn't wear blue jeans, because if you wore blue jeans, people would try to, bargain with you for them, and you'd end up walking around with no pants on, and, it's just, it was really strict. You couldn't get any American products at all. So if you're like thirsty, and it's summer, there's no vending machine with a Coke in it.
Yeah.
We went to the American Embassy in Moscow when we were doing our traveling at the end of the summer, and we were like, they have Cokes! So it's so exciting. But at the end of the summer, we were split into 5 groups of 30 each. We all traveled around to two or three cities. We all went to Moscow for like 8 days, and then our group went to Tbilisi in Georgia for 5 days, and then Tallinn in Estonia for 5 days.
Wow.
And different groups went to like Armenia or different. I don't even remember where they all went. So that was fascinating. And after having been in a place of deprivation, because Leningrad that summer, you could not get anything. Like, we would go out and walk around, and you would see a produce store, and the sign would say produce, produkti, and they would have like a pyramid of cabbages and maybe some tomatoes and like a cucumber or something. Wow. That was their store display, and that's all they sold. It's like nothing. So you'd be walking around, and you'd see someone with everybody carried these little string bags, and you'd see somebody with a string bag with like oranges in it. Oh my God, where did they get those oranges?
Yeah.
I would kill for some citrus. So,
so
you ask them where they went, and they're like, 3 blocks down this way, and then and you're like, what? And then you run and get in line. And at one point, we got in line, because you see a good line, you just get in it, and then you try to figure out what you're in line for. Yeah. And it turned out they were selling lemons, and they were lemons from Southern California, like where my grandfather had an orchard, and I was like, maybe my grandpa, I don't think they were really his, but I was just so excited. So we bought like 2 or 3 giant lemons that were really nice, and we used the peel, we used the juice, we brewed the rind afterwards. We got maximum use out of those lemons. I could not believe it.
That's amazing.
We had to boil water before we could drink it, because the water in Leningrad is still not safe to drink.
Wow.
It has a parasite that lives in it. Now all of Russia, the last time I went, which was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, yeah, you were not even allowed to drink the water in Moscow anymore. You have to boil it. So, yeah, I mean, the infrastructure in that country is bad.
Oh, it is.
And of course, now I'm totally furious with them, and I don't think I'll ever go back again because of what they're doing to Ukraine, which is really heartbreaking because I went in 76, I went in 82, I went in 85, and then I went back in 2015. And the changes that I saw were just, huge.
I'm sure.
From before to, from each time. But it's still, they still do a lot of things that just seem really backwards to us.
Yeah. Do you still practice your Russian? Can you still?
No, I really haven't. And that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
When I first moved here and I was in law school, there was a young Russian woman that somehow connected up with somebody in what was then, the Wesley Sunday School class.
Okay.
Which then became New Wesley, which is now Wesley Plus.
Yeah.
And somehow they knew that I spoke Russian. And ended up having this young woman move in with me for a few weeks and live with me. She was the daughter of some big, patriarch in the Russian Orthodox Church. And this was right about the time that the Soviet Union was falling apart.
Yeah.
So I practiced Russian with her. But the problem with any language, if you're not exposed to it.
Yep.
What happens to me sometimes is I will dream in another language, and in my dream I'm perfectly fluent.
Yeah.
Now maybe I'm not really, but it seems. And then I'll wake up and go, "How come I'm not like that in real life?" It's like it's living somewhere.
It's somewhere up there
in my head.
Yes. Sandy, I know that you went to law school kind of later in life, and I wonder what it was about law that has been interesting to you. The last however long you were doing that. You just retired.
I did.
A new thing for you. I wonder what about that was really interesting to you and what you really enjoyed about it.
I'll just say I practiced law for about 6 years, and then at the time that we decided to start looking into adopting kids, I just felt like I couldn't stay in a private practice anymore because the time constraints are huge.
Yeah.
It's really hard to work enough hours to bill 8 hours a day. That's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
So I ended up going back to the corporate world and doing things that were sort of law tangential. And that's what I did. And then so my last position was with Ascension Health, the parent company of Seton, and I did contracting. So wrote, reviewed, negotiated, et cetera, contracts. So I did that from 2005 on. So I'm not a litigator.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I grew up with Perry Mason and I love reading mysteries. That's like my favorite genre.
Yeah.
And I think it's the thing about why people enjoy mysteries is because we like justice.
Yeah.
And you have something's wrong and then it's brought right.
Yeah.
And that's what I think ultimately, there's a lot of things I enjoy about the field.
Yeah.
And I think I thought, I'll do public interest law and, help people and all that stuff. And then of course I was like, wait, who's supporting me? I'm supporting me. I need to find a real job. And since I had been in banking, I thought, well, I'll take some commercial law classes, and I did. And that's kind of more my speed. I like. I'm sort of like borderline extrovert introvert, so I like doing things with people. I enjoy talking with you all.
Yeah.
But I also need downtime and to sort of sit and read stuff and think about it and have chunks of time like that.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about how to think in a lawyerly way.
Yeah.
And that's what law school does for you.
Yeah.
It's sort of like everything I've ever done in my life has taught me more about how to think.
Yeah.
Like when I was tech writer, how do you communicate, right?
Yes.
So communications is a certain skill. And then when I was a computer programmer, I learned how to think in a structured way.
Yeah.
And then when I became a commercial loan officer, I learned how to understand finance a little bit better and kind of how business works, a lot more. And then law really helped me understand how you show things. You have, this is the law, and then these are the tests that you apply. How do you apply the law to these facts to figure out, what should be done?
Yeah.
And of course, the answer is the law is not a seamless web. The law is a big, humongous mess.
Yeah.
That's really hard to. I used to think it was like, well, you find out what the laws are that have been passed, and that's the law. Oh no, there's this whole thing called common law, which is what we do in this country. So I think learning how to issue spot, what's the threshold issue here. I served on a jury about 25 years ago, and the way it works is you're in the jury for the whole trial, and then at the end of it, when you're ready to start deliberations, the first thing you do is you elect your foreperson.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got through, it was like 5 days of testimonies. As soon as we got through, they all turned and looked at me and said, "You're going to be the foreman." I'm like, "What?" But then I had to try and get a bunch of lay people to think like lawyers. It's like, we need to know this thing, and if the answer is, it's like a pathway. It's like a logic.
One of those flow charts.
Flow chart, yeah. If the answer is this, then we stop.
Yeah.
If the answer is this, then we go on to the next steps.
Yeah.
And trying to get people to think that way, and I that's when I realized, oh, I did learn how to do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So.
And how do you think that you will learn how to think differently in retirement? What will that look like?
I'm trying to learn how to be my formerly well-rounded self as a human being, and to stop being so constrained by work.
Yeah.
Because all the things that I'm going to be doing now are things I've been doing for the past several years, dealing with parents, dealing with kids, dealing with church responsibilities,
Choir,
dealing with our house, and all of that. But I've always been just like extra uptight about everything. Yeah. And so now I'm trying to let those springs uncoil a little bit and just be a person and enjoy that. Yeah. And I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already arrived at chair of church council. What more could I possibly want?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think it's all downhill from here.
It's like, ooh, I get to go to finance committee meetings. I get to go to SBRC.
Aren't you lucky?
I get to go to executive committee. It's so
well,
great.
this is a great segue into Chad's favorite question,
which
is
what are you watching? What are you streaming?
What are you reading?
All the things. Yeah, what are you going to do?
Gosh.
What's all the fun things you're going to do?
I have a long list I've been keeping for several years of TV shows that people go, oh, you should watch this.
Yeah.
And then I'll look it up and check it out and see, does that sound like something I would like to watch? So I have a list of those. And I'm constantly reading about shows on streaming platforms. I've barely even heard of the platforms. Never heard of the show. There's too much out there.
There's blown up.
So I'm going to stick with my little list first. But we have Amazon Prime. We have Netflix, and we have Disney Plus.
Okay.
Well, you can get a lot done there.
All the Marvel movies, all the princess movies. None of the sad animal movies with Disney. Thank you very much. No Bambi.
No. Stay away from that.
Yeah, our preferred genre is like PG-13 at the most.
Okay.
Anything with a happy ending or that's funny or.
Well, I was going to ask you because you said Perry Mason if you were watching the new Perry Mason, but
I have not watched the new one.
The PG-13 threshold kind of, and happy.
It's not happy. It's very dark.
Very dark. Very different than the series.
I don't like. I really can't handle gore at all. And a lot of the things that everyone watches, I grew up like 15 miles from Disneyland. Okay, that's my frame.
Yeah.
When I was in Vienna after we came out of Russia that summer, and I'm walking around Vienna, and my first thought, and I blurt this out. I'm like, it's just like Disneyland. And I thought, what is wrong with me? But that's my whole worldview. Is this like Disneyland? If so, then I like it.
Yeah.
It's just really sad.
What is on your to-be-read list?
To-be-read list. Yeah. So I read a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I read, again, a lot of mysteries.
Yeah.
Nathan and I have discovered quite a few British authors that we enjoy.
Yeah.
That write in... sort of, they're usually humorous.
Uh-huh.
Some of them, like one author, Ben Aronovich, writes a series called The Rivers of London, which are police procedurals, but the police officers know magic. Oh. So it's kind of like a crossover thing. And then, of course, Outlander which I won't watch because of the gore, but I'll read it.
Yeah.
Okay, we've read all those books. So that's what time travel combined with history and romance and all that. So it's kind of a hodgepodge. Richard Osman, I've just started reading the Thursday Murder Club.
Oh, yes.
And I've read the first one. And one of my cousins who lives in the D.C. area, he and his wife read a lot of the same kinds of things as us, so we exchange ideas.
Yeah.
And we read stuff like that. I don't usually read bestsellers necessarily. I mean, I don't read them because they're... Sometimes I might be reading a book that happens to be one, like Louise Penny is an author that I enjoy. We read a lot of political stuff online. And that started in about 2000. When blogs started to come out, and I had never really been politically active at all. And I became more and more upset with what was going on in this country and started doing things like putting bumper stickers on my car, which now I have like 15 of them, and doing phone banking for people, which very much goes against my grain. I don't like doing it. I did block walking a few times in the early 2000s. Now I'm too decrepit to go knock on people's doors and stand there and talk. And I don't like cold calling people. And I definitely don't. I don't want somebody coming and ringing my doorbell to talk to them. But people do it because those are effective techniques to reach people.
They are,
So, but we read quite a few political blogs and.
All right, Sandy, I got one more big question for you. Tell me about singing in the choir. So you're a big choir fan. Have you always been singing in choirs? Kind of how's that been for you?
Yeah, I started out at my church in Fullerton. We had a children's choir, and Mr. McCain was our choir director. He was a social studies teacher at one of the local junior highs, but he did choir director on the side. And he taught us how to sing, and he taught us how to sing 4-part harmony. So, he did a little 3rd and 4th grade choir, and we would go and sing in all these little things, and really, high quality music education, which was great. And then I sang in all through all my years of junior high and high school at church. I took choir at school in junior high, but then in high school I was busy taking all my college prep classes, and I didn't take that, which I sort of wish I had. For part of the time in my high school choir, we had a black man who was a gospel choir leader, was our high school choir director. And I just need to have a conversation with some of my friends from there and go, did that really happen? I don't remember his name. It felt like he was there for a whole year, but I don't know if it was a whole year. But we learned how to sing, gospel, and it was so cool.
Love that.
And then in college, since I wasn't going to church, I didn't obviously do anything. But once we got into the church in Santa Monica, I started singing with the choir, and it was one of those, very high-powered choir directors, and he had paid soloists, which we have that here too, but these paid soloists were not students; these were like grown-ups. And no offense to our students, and it was the mood felt kind of snobby, and I always felt like, I'm not the world's best singer. I'm fine. It's like I'm like the bologna in the sandwich or whatever. It's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm the white bread in the sandwich. I'm not sure which I am. But I'm not a soloist, and I don't ever aspire to be. But I like the experience of singing with the choir. And we did some really big works. We did Verdi's Requiem, which is like 3 hours long.
Wow.
I still can't believe we did that. We went to some church in Hollywood and sang with a couple of other choirs.
Cool.
We must have worked on that for a year. I don't know, it was a big deal. Then when we moved to Hawaii, the Kailua Church had it was, for Hawaii, it was a pretty big congregation, but compared to here, much smaller. And very much more casual. And so really different mood. And a lot more fun. And it was a good community. And, But we sang, it was the first time I ever sang anything by John Rutter. All that good stuff. But it wasn't as rigorous. And then when I moved here and started going to this church, it took me months before I was brave enough to approach the choir.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, maybe it'll be like that church in Santa Monica,
Yeah.
because this choir here is really, really good.
Uh-huh.
But enough people in that grad students class were in the choir, and they were like, you should come.
Yeah.
You should just come.
Yeah.
And I came in.
Peer pressure.
And and so I got here just in time to do, the big work we did that year was Israel and Egypt, which is by Handel and has a lot of really fun stuff in it.
Yeah.
And then after that, then we talked Nathan into joining the choir too, and so then he and I have both been in it since then. So it's kind of the core of our church family in a way. Although we, obviously we do Sunday school. I've been active in UUMW off and on throughout my whole time here.
Yeah.
And I've been on various committees and things, because that's just how I am. People ask me to do things, and I go, sure. And I think, what have I done?
Yeah.
But choir has always been a key part of it for me.
Yeah.
Music is really important. I mean, I love all different kinds of music.
Yeah.
I don't just love church music.
Yeah.
Which is, remind me, I'm remembering, I feel like at the retreat that we did, you were wearing a Alaskan Folk Festival t-shirt,
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. So I have a brother. I have two brothers. One who lives in California, one who lives in Alaska. The one in Alaska is really into all kinds of folk music, and he has a weekly radio show on the public radio station in their little bitty town, Haines, Alaska, KHNS. I'm a sustaining member, just like I am of KMFA and KUT. He always plays at least one thing by Neil Young, because that's like his signature move or something.
Yeah.
But he'll play all kinds of rock and all kinds of folk and things like that. And he and my other brother and I, all three of us, just love, a wide spectrum of music from our youth. So we grew up in the 60s and 70s, and
It's not a very good era for music.
I tell you what, anytime I hear anything from the 80s, I'll go, oh, that's that new music. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Which is why I watched the Grammys last week. We were staying in a hotel, so we have power, and I actually watched the whole Grammys, because I'm like, I need to have some awareness of who these people are and what they sound like. So it was wild.
I think there's a lot of people that really connect to God and through their faith through music in a lot of different ways, and that can be through choral music, and it can be through any number of different kinds of music. And I really think that there's something powerful that happens when you sing with people that you love and appreciate, and have been doing that for a long time. I think that'd be really powerful for your faith and for your connection in your community.
Yeah, when I look out at the congregation and see people who are moved by what we're singing, it's like, that sounds awful. It's like, I want to make you cry.
No,
but I don't.
It's
because it will strike a chord.
Made a connection,
And half the time I'm crying. I mean, and that's one of my biggest challenges, is if we're singing at a memorial service, I cannot let myself look at the family until after we've done whatever anthem we're doing, because I'll just fall apart.
Absolutely. I understand that as well.
I'm famous for crying I cry when I read the scriptures. I cry when I sing. I cry when I watch heartwarming TV commercials. I mean, it's really sad.
I'm right there with you. I have that same reputation.
Absolutely.
Well, we thank you for coming in. We've taken up a lot of your time, but we sure enjoyed it.
Lovely, and thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing about your life with us, and we're so grateful to have you here and to have you on all those committees that we don't want to go to. We're glad to have somebody else that goes to those meetings.
Oh, you're gonna all get asked to come visit us.
I think
you were first.
I was first. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to SPRC I had to do a thing with Heather about digital ministries.
Oh, exciting!
So,
Exciting, yeah.
Anyway,
well, thank you very much, Sandy. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
It's good to learn about you.
I'll look forward to bringing you peeps at a later date.
Awesome. So, Chad, what else is happening this week for you?
Nothing.
Oh.
I'm trying to think. No, there's things. That's a loaded question. Every time, because I have my work calendar, but then Ashley keeps it very busy.
Your social calendar?
So, they're doing a Galentine's tonight, and then I'm going to grab a scotch with Chris.
Nice.
And, I'm trying to think of something fun, but that's
You got
it.
nothing.
Yeah, what about you? You got something fun,
just
more fun
just
than
getting. I mean, obviously reveling in my win.
Yeah,
as
that's-
long as
that's
possible. There's a
Ride that
big
way for a
parade
bit.
on Wednesday in Kansas City that I will have on the big screen in the fellowship hall during
That's
lunch
good,
with the
that's
college
good.
kids. So I
Okay.
will further inundate them with my crazy.
You brainwash.
But other than that, just getting ready for next week. You know, Fat Tuesday and Shrove Tuesday.
That's
and
you know what. So today,
Ash Wednesday.
right before we did this, do I have the robot? I made your work bestie Heather
yes.
wear a robot head and
I
do a little
heard
dance.
about
I'll
that.
have to show it to you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see
So
that.
it's
Yeah.
there were no air holes, so we
Oh.
had to do it in spurts where she'd wear the thing and then she'd
great.
dance and then she'd take it
Oh
off.
wow,
so she
that sounds
she had
terrible.
passed out. But anyway,
Wow. Yeah, so Ash Wednesday is my favorite.
Yes.
It's weird, I know, but it's really one of my favorite days of the whole year. And when else do you get to smear ashes on somebody's forehead and remind them they're going to die?
yeah.
It is just the best part
That's-
of my job. And I'm going to do that on the street corner, and I'm going to do it in the
Just total
church, and I'm going to do it
strangers.
for total strangers, and I just love it.
I'm
I
happy
love
for
it.
you. I'm happy for you.
So excited for Lent to start and to feed people pancakes next week, and there's just a lot of stuff to get ready for. So
Awesome.
excited about that.
Well, good deal.
Yeah. Well, another PEEPS
Yeah,
at UUMC.
another in the books, successful.
Amazing.
So.
Amazing.
All right, go ahead and sign on.
Okay. Well,
Do your sign.
thanks for joining us. PEEPS.
Even though he is very much a baby compared to me.
Yeah.
I mean, people are like, you don't look like a typical cougar. And I'm like, no, I don't. I know that.
Keep dancing with the devil, but it is a lie.